I'm a nerd.
Alright. Hello everybody, I am Art Crow, also known as Tony, and this is Crystal.
Hey, I'm Crystal from the channel Digital and Vellum. It's nice to see y'all again.
We're talking today about Shadow Moon from American Gods.
Have you guys read the book? You should read the book.
I told you to read the book. I told you to watch the show too.
The show came out.
The show did come out. It came out yesterday as we're filming this, but I'm not sure when it's going to upload. And we're kind of doing a hero profile on this particular character. So the question is, do you think Shadow is a hero or not?
I would say that he is. Or I should say he has the seeds within him to do so. Because you've seen it, if you read the book.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be talking a little bit between the book and the movie. There was a little girl in the book. Well, she's not that little. She's a teenager who acts like she's older than she is. You know, teenagers. That hero part especially shines.
Yeah.
So I would say that there's seeds, but then he's also on his own in the world, so he has to be a little bit tougher and harder. And
Well, I think that Shadow is kind of, at least, if I had read this book when it came out, this was the tailor-made hero for what I thought would make a good person. Because he's slightly rough around the edges, and he's a little bad, but he also ultimately has a good heart. And those are the characters that I kind of really gravitate towards. The bad guy who is a good guy in reality.
But I wouldn't even call him a bad guy. Sorry, I'm looking up the year that it was written.
Well, he wrote it in the 90s. Came out 2001.
Yes, it came out in 2001, so probably publishing all that other fun stuff.
In the book, cell phones aren't a thing yet.
Well, they had the technology gods.
Yeah.
But they weren't as prevalent as they are nowadays.
But they were still using payphones in the book. They weren't using cell phones.
I used a payphone in 2000 and no, don't date. They were still around then, and I still use them.
I know where a few of them are still in Minneapolis, but they're very few and far between. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he was kind of the tailor-made hero for who I was right around that time. But I didn't read it then.
No,
I read it now.
I told you to read it now. If I wouldn't have told you to read this book, do you think you would have picked it up?
I might have picked it up knowing that the show was coming out.
Would you really, or would you just watch the show and waited to see if the show was good and then possibly?
I'm saying I might have. I didn't say I guaranteed would, but it definitely pushed me in that direction, knowing that there was the show coming out and going, well, I kind of want to watch the show. I should not go with the first version first, if at all possible. Mm-hmm. That's the way I like to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, they have only had one episode so far of the show, so for those of you that are just watching at home and haven't read the book, you've only seen a small glimpse of Shadow so far.
A small snippet. In the show, he kind of seems a little bit more, he seems a little bit more hero in the show. He seems a little more of a white hat in the show.
Definitely.
And that's because the book lets you know a few things more about his backstory. Yeah.
And sooner.
Than we're getting in the show.
I mean, the show does start off with him in prison, so there's kind of that.
Yeah, it's
negative.
Straight off, he's a convict.
Yeah, but he's being released early. Then earlier than early.
Yeah, he's a good guy that was placed in bad situations, and that's like I said, around that time in my life, there were lots of girls that I put myself in bad situations for, which is what he ended up.
Yeah, and he got caught. You only find out that later.
Yeah.
That it was actually for kind of heroic reason.
Yeah.
And that did come out a little bit in the first episode, but
it's not very clear.
It's not very clear. And in the first episode, they really spent a lot of time just trying to establish the story, which makes sense, so it's not as focused on Shadow.
But he is the protagonist,
He is
so
the protagonist.
You would expect him to be the hero, but like I said, he's kind of a gray hero, not total white hat guy.
Okay, can I just say, I was expecting them to cast a darker actor.
Were you? You were
Yeah.
expecting a more Nubian.
I don't know why, but no, I was expecting them to cast a darker actor than they did for Shadow. Maybe it's just even the name Shadow made it seem like they were going to be...
Well, it does conjure a little bit of darkness with that name to begin with, Shadow. Mm-hmm. And I think he was not as light-skinned in the book. He was a little bit darker, but you work with what you got in the real world.
And the actor was doing a fabulous job of the portrayal of the character, I felt.
I think he did a great job with the exposition thing at the graveyard, where he's actually speaking the internal monologue that you read in the book. Mm-hmm. He did a great job without making that seem like it was forced and stiff and whatnot. That's something not a lot of actors are able to do.
Yeah. Or when he went off to the park and just...
released all the
anger and the tension and everything. It was just one primal scream that he did, and I think that really vouched for him too. That one scream, which is weird to say that a scream vouches for a person, but it honestly did portray his emotional connection to all of this, because he is known as a rather quiet,
don't know anything like that,
stoic person, and he has those hidden depths that most people don't realize, that he actually is intelligent, that he actually has that depth of emotion. He's not just muscle, and so being able to show that he is deeper than that and he is feeling those emotions, I think really helped make him more
of a well-rounded character in the show that you wouldn't necessarily get with a lesser actor. Mm-hmm.
And then that's where episode 1
stops.
So we should...
Hey everybody, this is post-production Tony, and this video is getting a little bit long. So because of that and the fact that we're about to get into spoilers, I've decided to break it up into 2 videos. Be sure to check out Crystal's channel, Digital and Vellum, and come back for part 2 of the hero profile of Shadow Moon.
Stick with me, Rebels. We can do this.
Do that. Definitely do that.
Please remember to share this video, click like, and comment, because all this stuff really helps me out. And if you're not sure what to comment, just answer the question of the day. It's right over there. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and get notified, because that is the way you will not miss anything I put out. And don't forget, there's always links in the description to either other videos, things I talked about, or things that you just might find interesting.